Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for being here with us and gracing our event today. Now, Euan, at any point, we're going to be asking lots of questions as well, so please feel free to jump in. I know you've got tons of questions on your mind as well, as a Liverpool fan. But Steve, is it your first time in Malaysia?
No, I was here in 2003.
2000, 20 years ago.
20 years ago,
wow.
And I've seen a big difference to the city, that's for sure. I was here with managing Birmingham at the time, and we played the national team, Chelsea and Newcastle. So it was 20 years ago.
That's amazing. Okay, we're going to jump into the Man United questions now. We're going to take you back in time, alright, Steve, to when you were a player at Man United. You, of course, won 3 Premier League titles there under another legend himself, the one and only Sir Alex Ferguson. Can you, for the benefit of our fans here today, tell us a little bit something that we don't know about him, because we've seen, I'm sure most of them have read his book and watched documentaries about Sir Alex Ferguson. But what can you share with us as a player? He was your manager. Any interesting facts?
In any interview I've ever done, all across the world, or in Europe or in England, they always ask me what really was Sir Alex Ferguson like. And the first thing I have to say was he was hard work at times, very demanding, but once you learned his trust and he had his trust, then there was nobody better to work for. He set an unbelievable example to everybody in his work. He was relentless in his work rate, and something that really stuck with me. As a real human being, he took time and had a humility about him, which it endeared him to everybody concerned, because management has changed. You see often now the head coach who's not really interested in what you do away from the football club. He engulfed himself with how you were as a family, how you were enjoying it, and this insatiable appetite to win. And I first came across it when we were trying to topple the mighty Liverpool, and he was obsessed with taking over Liverpool. A bit like Manchester United now, we've got to catch Manchester City and maybe Liverpool, but he was relentless in that way of how to get the best out of people, and a fantastic human being to go with it.
Fantastic human being. Thanks for sharing that with us, Steve. And speaking of Liverpool, Euan, I have to ask you though, what do you think of Liverpool's season so far? I mean, there was a bit of, I would say, criticism maybe over the transfer window over the summer. Maybe they didn't invest enough in the right players, but I would say they're doing surprisingly well. Do you agree?
I agree they're doing surprisingly well for a team that's not really played together. I mean, the midfield's completely new. They just get introduced to each other. So I think the key now, I want Andy Robertson back, clearly. Did you ever have Andy with you at home? Are you the guy?
The guy.
This man made Andy Robertson, so I'm a fan, massively. But I want Andy Robertson back. That midfield just needs to get a bit harder working together. And then the key for Liverpool, I think, is who's their first 3 up front? Because they play, there's 5 people playing for 3 places, and the question is it Gakpo or Nunes? Oh, Salah's a given, right? But Gakpo, is it Gakpo or is it Nunes? And is it Diaz or is it Jota? Yeah, and it's kind of like Klopp doesn't seem to have made his mind up, to be honest, and I think that once they get that clicking, I think that the second's a definite possibility. It's hard to see anybody get past City again.
Yeah, no, that's very true. How about you, Steve? So Euan there mentioned that Liverpool could be second. Do you see Man United finishing in the top 4 this season, considering inconsistent results?
They achieved it last year when Liverpool were not there. Liverpool are far stronger. I think it's fair to say Liverpool look as if they're in transition. When you look at what they've got, and 5 players up top, new midfield, at least it looks as if there's a way forward where they've changed their style, change of player, personnel. It's difficult to get them all together, but what we're seeing at the moment, Liverpool are a threat, I have to say. Can Manchester United finish in the top 4? They're going to have to improve defensively. I think it's a bit unfair on the manager, because the back 4 have been decimated with the injury to Shaw and Martinez and the problems he's had defensively. But I think we all have to admit that Liverpool look as if they're in front of us, Arsenal do, Man City do, so to finish in that top 4 is going to be very, very difficult.
Speaking of defense, what are your thoughts of Andre Hanna, of course, taking over from David De Gea? Was that a good decision for the manager?
Well, I was just in the programme tonight where we were doing the clips of what we're going to talk about later, and of course, everybody's question is about Andre Hanna. Will he still be in the team? I think Ten Hag yesterday's come out and backed him. I think if you look at his stats in the Premier League, they're really, really very, very good in terms of what he's done. Unfortunately, for a goalkeeper, and we've seen that Tuesday night, he's made too many mistakes, and he has to stop that. Otherwise, his position will be in jeopardy. I'll be immensely surprised if Ten Hag leaves him out in the foreseeable future, because they've spent a lot of money on him. So he's got to stop these individual, because after the penalty save a few weeks ago, we thought he changed a little bit, but unfortunately he's made their mistakes in midweek, which has put the spotlight back on him.
So, question, who was the favourite goalkeeper you played in front of, and why?
Well, it's quite easy. A big Danish man, a big Danish fella called Schmeichel.
And
because, well, he was a big, huge presence and a big, we know what they are. He always had something to say, but the one thing he could do, he could back it up on a Saturday, because he was arguably one of the great goalkeepers, I believe, that we've ever seen. He was a fantastic goalkeeper and wonderful personality.
I 100% agree with that. He was something else.
Something else, yeah.
Now, while we're talking about players, Euan, maybe you could share with us which player excites you this season so far? Not necessarily from Liverpool, could be across the league, but feel free to mention a Liverpool player.
I can never remember his name. I'm going to try and go non-Liverpool.
Okay.
I can't remember the guy's name, but the Asian player who plays for Wolves.
Wolves.
Asian player plays for Wolves. Because anyone help me out in the audience? Because he is the trickery and the Kwang. There you go.
Is he South Korean?
Yeah. The trickery with which he demonstrates and the speed of footwork that he's got is absolutely outstanding. I think that he's going to get snapped up, unfortunately, and I think the same is true of Matudo at Brighton. It's a matter of time before a Tottenham or an Arsenal come along, because they're those kind of players. They're back in our day, when Pat Nevin, they look like Pat Nevin.
Well, they certainly go past people and try, Pat Nevin, that's a blast from the past.
You remember him?
I remember him, you. Of course
I grew up with him.
Fantastic.
At Everton and Chelsea.
Great player.
All right, Steve, how about you? From your point of view, like from the manager's point of view, which player excites you?
I was devastated when he left Borussia Dortmund and didn't come to Manchester United. But I have to say, the best young player I've seen in the last 30 years has got to be the kid playing in, unfortunately, Real Madrid. English by the name of Jude Bellingham is something which I don't think, which could, I hope, be the difference of England winning a big tournament, because this kid has got the lot. For 19, 20-year-old, wherever he is, tearing up Real Madrid is something else. He's the best young thing I think I've seen since Ryan Giggs.
Yeah, very exciting to watch him play for sure. Steve, we haven't seen you manage for a while now. Of course, the last team you managed was West Brom, and a little Google search told me that you're in the odds for the Republic of Ireland position. But what are your thoughts? Like, do you miss it? Do you miss getting? Do you want to get back into it?
What she's asking, how much you like Guinness is what she's asking.
I've purposely, for the first time, I've had a break. I've been going since I was 18, 19, and I've done 45 years unbroken. From player to manager. After I left West Brom, I was determined to just say, I'm not going to do anything. I was sick of seeing myself on radio, TV, so I just decided to say I'm going to take time off, go to holiday, and apparently if the bookies, apparently the Republic of Ireland would be something that would appeal to me. I think at this stage of my life, maybe international management might be something to look at. Certainly I would be interested in the position. let's see what happens over the next few weeks. I think they're going to take the time, but certainly I believe that I love the challenge.
We'll be keeping our tabs on that, Steve. And of course, thankfully, because you're not managing any team right now, we get to have your presence here in Malaysia. So,
thank you.
Silver lining. Steve, you must have watched that goal against Everton last week by Garnacho. How would you rate that in terms of like best goals of all time, or even compare it to Wayne Rooney's goal versus City?
Well, we all know Wayne Rooney's goal was the goal. I mean, the technique in both players to do it. For a start, they're both 4 or 5 feet off the ground to do it. Is a wonderful technique. How do you split them? It's impossible. It's arguably one of the great goals of the Premiership, and put Garnacho on the map. A fantastic goal. I don't think we'll see a better one. It'll take something special to beat it. To split it with Rooney, I can't say, but to be up there with Rooney's, you have to say well played to Garnacho. Wonderful skill, wonderful technique. Absolutely delighted for the kid.
And just with a capped off to Man United again, do you remember Ibrahimovic's overhead kick when he played for Sweden against England? I mean, those three, you could argue, 3 Man United players scored the best 3 overhead kicks ever.
I don't think we've seen any more, although I remember going back years, Dennis Stewart scoring one against Newcastle. Dennis Stewart, that's longer than I was only a kid then. He scoring in 1974.
Right.
An overhead kick for Manchester City against Newcastle.
Right, did they have television, TVs back
I
then?
don't think we had black and white TV. We didn't have enough.
I'm sure it was black and white. It wasn't this quality.
No, I don't think so.
No.
Certainly wasn't Sooka back then.
Steve, in your time as a player or even as a manager, have you seen on the training ground, you know, like something that we haven't seen publicly on TV or scored in the Premier League or anything, like an amazing goal that we don't know of because it happened in training?
I think one of the most amazing goals that I remember, and it wasn't in training, happens on the big stage.
Okay.
The one that springs to mind readily now is Ryan Giggs when he runs from the halfway line, semi-final, Man U down to 10 men, and Ryan Giggs beats 7 of them and smashes it in the top corner. That's got to be up there with the great goals. It was an FA Cup, it wasn't the Premier League, but certainly when I used to, when I was getting to the end of my career at Manchester, the young ones were just coming through, the likes of Scholes and Giggs and people like this who were capable of scoring great goals. Paul Scholes used to score in training regularly, where we used to sit back and say, wow, what a player this kid's going to be. So Ryan Giggs, that goal is here, there, will be. Paul Scholes in training, what he used to do. And Cantona was capable of anything when he was certainly at his best.
Okay, there's a big game happening later this evening, well, 4 a.m. Our time. Newcastle
Can I ask the audience who's staying up for it? Was anybody still staying up?
Oh, I think almost everybody.
We have huge amounts of customers
Yeah.
that stay up 3, 4 in the morning because, of course, all the Champions League games midweek, they all kick off at 3 o'clock here, right?
Yeah.
And you've got the hardcore, thousands of customers that stay up at 4 in the morning.
They're going to have to show me how to stay awake. Or do you go to bed first? Do we go to bed now when we go home? And
Yeah,
go to
what do
bed
you
What do you do,
What's
guys?
the secret? What's the secret? Lots of caffeine, or just Well, it is a weekend, so I think that's an excuse to wake up late on a Sunday, right? As well. But
Of
yes,
course.
Steve, I think you're going to be on that. You're going to be doing that game as well.
Yep.
A little later on.
Looking forward to it.
What are your thoughts? What's going to happen at St. James's
Well,
Park?
Newcastle at the moment are absolutely racked with injuries. So if they've only got the bare 11 again, where they've just played Chelsea last week, and put an unbelievable effort in against Paris Saint-Germain on Wednesday, Tuesday, it's a big ask for them players to go again in a week. So whether they've got physically, they're ready to go again, that's why I'm just going to go for Manchester United. I think they've got a little bit more rotation. I think Manchester United played very, very well in the last 2 games. Unfortunately, the goalkeeper's made a mistake in Galatasaray. They've played very well, so I'm going to go for a Manchester United win.
You guys agree? Yes. see a Man United win tonight?
Well, I think it will be a Man United win because I think Steve's 100% right. Newcastle left it all on the pitch against PSG to get robbed, because I think they did get robbed in injury time. I think that deflates you. Hard to pick yourself up 3-4 days later and get back on the big stage against, it doesn't matter where they are in the league. Man United's such a massive game. And I think Man U will just overwhelm them just because of the differences that they've had in this week.
All right, I'm pretty sure all our fans here agree as well. And just a quick one on Newcastle as well, Steve. I mean, of course we all know about the atmosphere at Old Trafford, Theatre of Dreams, amazing. But what about St. James's Park? Because I remember reading a recent article where there was a poll. I think the fans had to vote for which stadium had the craziest atmosphere and gives them chills. And St. James's Park was actually on top. It was like number 1.
Well, certainly now with the takeover, when I was there 2-3 years ago, there was a despondency and an air of doom and gloom around the city with the ownership, and that trickled to the supporters and trickled to everybody, where it wasn't St. James's Park of what we already knew it was. Now, for example, you have to say new manager, new board, new owners, new investment, new players, good players. All of a sudden the atmosphere is back, and the atmosphere today at 7 o'clock on a Saturday evening back in England, they'll all have been to the pub all day. There'll be an absolutely incredible atmosphere tonight, which I have to say, being a Geordie, is second to none. There's unbelievable support for a club of Newcastle stature, and it's going to be tough. And Man U will have to override that atmosphere, which will be fantastic.
But I have to say, most cities, for those guys that haven't been to the UK, most cities have 2 teams. So Liverpool, Everton, Man City, Man United. When you go to Newcastle, everybody's black and white. 100% of people, black and white.
Absolutely.
Which makes a different kind of atmosphere. There's no choice about which club you are. No. You're a Geordie, you're black and white.
You're black and white, you support Newcastle, and whether it doesn't matter if your grandchildren, children, sister, brother, kids, everybody supports Newcastle. Probably the way it should be. It's great to see.
Oh, we do have actually a big team or a big group of Newcastle supporters in Malaysia as well. I think we've got some of them at the back over there. Hello! Hi guys! Yeah, we'll have a little meet and greet session later, but Steve, Euan, we're going to wrap up this session. Any last words, Steve, to your fans here in Malaysia before we let you go?
I have to say I've only been here 24 hours. To the guys who looked after me, they've been pretty spectacular. The one thing I am delighted about, and I was asking, was how's the the national team looking?
Oh, I can tell you that.
Yeah, the people tell me that they're going great. They've unfortunately, you've got South Korea in your group in the Asian Cup, so I'm going to look out for Malaysia. When is it? January, February? The Nations Cup?
Yeah.
January, February. So go on, Malaysia. I'm going to support them as my team and see how they get on. Thank you very much.
We have a huge Harimau Lions supporter here. Yes.
We had a World Cup qualifier here 2 weeks ago, and I was lucky enough to be in the stadium. There's this Ultras Malaya, which are the gang behind the stadium, They started when the drum started, 10 minutes before the match started. They did not stop dancing until 10 minutes after that match ended, and it was brilliant because Malaysia won it 4-3, last goal in injury, so 3-1 down at 6-7 minutes and came back to 4-3. And it was great. It was just fantastic
to see it, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Steve, hopefully you get to experience that, because I think that atmosphere at our national stadium will rival that of St. James's Park.
It makes a difference if you've got a big audience, big support, banging drums, all of that creates the atmosphere, and Newcastle will benefit that tonight, give them a bit of energy.
Yeah,
but I do hope now it's following Malaysia.
You know where we come from. People get, the team has a bad half, England has a bad half, and the team start booing it. Here they just kept banging the drum. It was fantastic. The quality of support.
And got them over the line at the finish.
100%. It was fantastic.
All right, gents, that's a great way to wrap this session up. Now, before we let you go down, let's take a quick photo opportunity of you two gentlemen with the Sooka placard. Do we have that